So here today, talk about the review of processes and systems. Why should a business review their processes and their systems? Why is it important?
I think quite often businesses can kind of go through their day-to-day world. Everyone's doing what they need to do to get, the results that they need to. And quite often people can say, oh, okay, yeah, everything's working okay, we'll plod along, when actually you do need to have a review of processes, procedures, systems, because actually things are ever changing and evolving, and actually there could be quicker ways of doing things more efficiently, or actually you need new pieces of software, you need maybe new resources. There's a lot that can come out of it, really. But I think businesses can find it a bit hard to stop and assess, because they are in that day-to-day run-in and they keep going forward, and not taking time to pause and assess where they're at.
Just taking that minute to think, why are we doing this?
Yes.
What is the reason we're doing it this way? Is there a better way?
Exactly.
What sort of problems can it cause if you don't take that minute to just look and assess, why are we doing this? Why are we following this process?
I guess you can become, things can be quite outdated, slow, you can not get timely information, things like that, where actually there's quite a cost of not reviewing them and plodding along as if everything's okay, when actually you do need to take that time and stop and assess, and really get into the detail of it and what you need in order to improve and grow with your business, because your businesses want to evolve, they want to grow, but you need systems and processes and procedures all to evolve with you, not become, 5 years outdated that don't work for you anymore.
Yeah, you don't want to be stagnant. And it's also important, as you said, if it's taking a lot of time to do a process, that's stealing time. You could be doing something else. So
exactly,
it can have quite a knock-on effect.
That's the thing. It could be that actually you're spending so much time on something that can be looked at and we can evolve a new process for, and then actually you have the time to spend on more high value things and things that matter more, and get all the other things running quite nicely and ticking along. And then you can have a review process in place every so often, so it becomes a regular thing to monitor. Yeah,
making sure you're spending your time on the things that you should be spending your time on, getting the most value out of your time.
Exactly.
So typically, how would a business know, or what warning signs are there to show a business that they really need to do a review now, because they've already got to that point where it's stagnant?
Yeah. I mean, quite often, like I say, people do just plod forward and it's the day-to-day, but you will hear grumbles from staff who say, oh, this has taken me 2 days to do, but I don't really have the time to look at it and stop and pause. That's usually the case of what we get from clients. And they know something's wrong, but they don't know where to go with it ultimately. So, yeah.
So I guess also those grumbles could, if they'd not listened to, move into people leaving. So you get a turnover of staff and then...
Yeah, exactly. There's quite a knock-on effect. It's a domino effect, really. And actually, taking the time to stop, listen to the staff who are saying these things aren't happening as they should be, and we need to assess it, and things that are slow, or you're not getting the results that you want. You get reports and you go, oh yeah, that's okay, but actually in your head you're thinking, oh no, there's more I could be getting out of this. I just don't know how to get there ultimately.
Yeah, and your business then just stays still. People aren't being developed. You're not getting those skills in to build things out and actually push everyone to have a more enjoyable experience in the business.
Exactly. Like you say, you become stagnant and things don't grow.
Okay, so what are the first steps for a business owner once we've seen those warning signs? People aren't happy, things are taking ages. it's taken me a week to get a payment run done. It's taken me 3 weeks to get my management accounts, those sort of things. What are the first steps a business owner could do?
It's talking to a professional, coming to talk to Kirk Rice and saying, actually, this is the situation we're in. We need some expertise who have done this before and can step in and quite often take a step back, because when you're not in the business, quite often you can see more of the bigger picture and where things are impacting others. And like I say, that domino effect, you can take a bigger picture view, can't you, rather than someone who's really in the detail of it. So, yeah, it's quite beneficial to have an outsider come in and just take a fresh, independent review and a fresh look at it.
Yeah, and I suppose the guys at Kirk Rice, the team at Kirk Rice, have experience of doing this in other businesses. They've seen what other processes in other businesses work and what might then be able to be replicated or put in place in this business to help speed up processes.
Should I pick up on that?
Yeah.
I think what would be really helpful, John, is if I just describe some of the different ways in which we might work. Yep. So Bex and I are both very experienced in this area, but just thinking over the last couple of years, actually some of the things we've done, although there was a well-worn path there and we followed a particular process because it works really well, some of the projects that we've done have looked quite different, haven't they? So, for example, a couple of years ago, a business owner came to me and said, I'd like you to do a one-off piece of work. This is roughly what I'm looking for. I'm not getting management accounts. I am being told by members of the finance team that they feel underinvested in. The business is growing. I don't really know how it's doing. I'm not getting the information I need. And the team seem a little bit down. What do you suggest? So I came up with a plan. And in that scenario, I went in and I did 4 days' work, all in one go. But it doesn't have to be like that. Some of the work you've done, Bex, recently has been more going in each week and working with one particular individual. So it can take lots of different forms, and it can be, like I said, a one-off piece of work that starts off with a sort of a big piece of help, a short, sharp shock to get the finance team working again and working really well. All the things Bex has spoken about. So it's looking at systems, and that could be processes, or we can be talking about actual software, add-ons, tools, automation. So the software element. We could be talking about the skill sets of bookkeepers or internal accountants or finance managers who maybe they don't feel so confident with the new technology, but they'd love to learn. Maybe as the business has grown, or they're doing different things, maybe new service lines, or some things become a bit more complicated in the finance team. And actually, maybe this business now needs a finance director, but the owners haven't really thought about, that before, because they always felt they were a bit smaller and didn't need that. They haven't thought about the cost or whatever. So there's lots of ways to come in and assess. It's sitting down with the business owners, talking about what are those, Bex spoke earlier about the sort of little niggles, like there's hints, there's things coming up, there's things that aren't quite happening. What are those things? What is it that the business owner is struggling with? What are they not getting from the team, or what are they not getting from the software, or whatever it is? Coming in and doing, as you mentioned, an independent review, stepping back, having had that conversation with the business owner, and maybe even sitting down with each individual member of the finance team and not quite interviewing them as such, but maybe just going through, or what do you do in a normal day? You've done that as well. You've gone in and said, right, we're just going to list everything you do and work out if you're just simply overworked, which can be, once you see it, it's you're thinking, well, how could you have got that done in a week or a month?
Exactly.
Or, of course, you're not going to meet that deadline, because it, to somebody who's able to take a step back, it feels more obvious. Those things, and then what we're able to do, which maybe the finance team themselves internally don't feel they can do, is go to the owner with a report. If they don't want a report, then it's just a more informal chat, if that's what they want to do, that says, okay, are there any real crucial things that are going wrong, and this is going to turn into a big problem for you really soon. So the sort of warning scenarios. Is there anything that's we call it a quick win?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So these things that are very quick to implement, could be done within a couple of days. Nobody within the team's going to have an issue with it because it's very easy to use. It's a purchase invoice automation tool, or it's moving away from printing things, or we like to, see where things are duplicated. Somebody's taking something from a spreadsheet and creating another spreadsheet, and importing it in, or another spreadsheet. Quite often nowadays there are solutions that are just there straight away that can be used, and they are those quick wins.
Sounds good. And I guess from the business owner perspective, the reason they maybe not be fully aware of the problems is because they're not in that granular detail. They're a bit removed, whereas historically they might have been doing it all themselves, and they've brought in the finance staff. And the process that they used to do might not be sufficient nowadays. So is it a case that maybe those processes haven't been mapped out, and as you said, there's duplication? So those easy wins of going, okay, you're mapping out what the process is and going, okay, why are you doing that? Can we cut that out? Can we do it this way easier? And just there, you saved yourself 2 hours.
Yeah.
I think sometimes if you've got a business that started off and it was relatively small, everybody's got, the owner may have sort of a different hat on every day. They're doing HR, and then as the business grows, you get that HR person in, you get that finance manager in, and maybe there's a bookkeeper, maybe there's an accounts assistant. And as things grow, I think just going back to what you were saying earlier, it feels like there's not time for the organisation to take that step back and do that mapping. It feels like it would be a nice to have, but there's never the right time to take the time to map processes and think, what do we do? Also, do the people in the business have the skills to kind of connect all the dots? So if you've got somebody in HR, you see it sometimes, HR and finance doing payroll together. There's kind of a bit of an overlap there. Is somebody from HR and finance going to map the processes together? That you've got some quite different things there, but there's crossover. Does somebody within the business have the skills to be able to take a step back and look at all of that and say, that's not really an HR process anymore, or that's not really a finance process anymore, or why don't you guys work together to do this and it would be more efficient and we'd have fewer errors, or this would get done quicker, or whatever. But when a business is growing, there's maybe not that one person who can do that, and it does need somebody to come in and look at all of it, and like you say, map it and talk to the owner and say, this is happening, did you know? And they might say, oh gosh, I didn't know that's how payroll was being done, or I didn't. Of course it makes sense to do it in a different way, like you've suggested. So it's just quite a natural thing really for small businesses to grow. And we've seen as well, haven't we, that sometimes in businesses where you have, say, a sales team and an after sales team, the idea is to grow your revenue, obviously, and so the sales team are invested in heavily, and poor old finance sometimes doesn't get a look in. It really waits until finance teams say, oh hi, we're struggling a bit here, could we have some more people? So I think it's not natural to want to add kind of an overhead sort of in that area, which is why it needs quite a regular review, because as we said earlier, if things go on too long like that, you can have staff in the finance team who maybe think, well, I'm I'm doing all this work and I'm not getting more support, maybe I'll just go, and that will cause an even bigger problem.
Yeah, and it sounds like, obviously, as you said, the big problem is you don't have that, when you're in the business, you don't have that time to sit back and breathe and take stock of what the process is. And that's where bringing in Kirk Rice as an outside observer who's got that sort of dedicated time and can talk to the people in the team to actually map it all out while they continue on with their normal day-to-day job of what they need to be doing. So once they've got Kirk Rice in, we've talked through, delivered the report, or just had the chat with the business owner, what's the ideal solution at the end? What's the ideal outcome?
Yeah, I think it's just getting the finance team working how they should, a team that's working at its best. And for us, it's about, you talked about having that conversation with the business owner. It's about going to them and cutting through all the nonsense and not using technical jargon, just going to them and saying, this is what we would do. These things are easy things. We can help you implement them. Or, it's software or whatever it is. These things are going to take a bit longer, and giving them the options and then helping them to implement those changes. And that can be, there's an element, isn't there, of change management as well. Because if a team's been left, for example, using one software, they might think, well, I only know how to use that software. This is really daunting, using something else. But actually, the really nice thing about all these modern softwares is actually really intuitive and they're easy to use, and we can provide training. And once people start to use them, you know what I'm going to say, they're starting to use them and they go, oh, wow, okay, I was really worried about this, but actually it's great. I mean, that's the feedback we get all the time, isn't it? This was brilliant.
Yeah.
That's
why didn't we do it sooner?
Why didn't somebody show us that this was the way? Going in and helping people, use things in the right way, and not just software. Maybe it's those things this is the way we've always done it. That old cliche. A payment run doesn't need to take 5 hours to prepare necessarily. Yeah. It might take 2. Oh, that's freed. Oh, you're right. That's freed me up to do something else on a Thursday or whatever it is. The success of it is the business owner then getting rid of all those niggles. They're getting their management accounts on time. They're getting a payment run or a payroll to review or whatever it is in time, and things are running smoothly, and the morale of the finance team is improved, and they feel really valued and invested in. So.
Probably less stress because they're not trying to do 7 days work in 5 days.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the end result. That's what success looks like in that situation.